Okay. Good evening, GM. How's everyone doing? Man, all right. Let's get into it. So I won't do a big preamble this time, as I normally do. I just wrapped up a client project that I am so happy to be done. Cool project, but obviously was just impossible, to be doing that while I'm also doing maybe the most difficult thing I think I've ever had to do, which is this 30-day art challenge. So, we wanted to do every day. We wanted to put out a new work every day, which we're not on that schedule, but we're still, the target is 30 pieces in 30 days. So there'll be some catching up. I've said this before. Obviously, I would have loved to do this, on a perfect schedule. It is what it is. We are here. But we put out some really awesome work, and I'm really happy with kind of how it's all coming together. And if you've been following the streams, you kind of understand the story that's being told. But the cool thing is, I'll do a big summary at the end. I'll wrap up everything, and it'll all connect. A couple things is we're going to keep the stream to exactly, under 2 hours. So I'm just going to hit start on my timer. I've been looking at some tools to sort of go into the AI, like go use AI to basically go through all of the videos and kind of summarize. And the limit is usually 2 to 3 hours. So what we're going to do is we're going to limit these to 2 hours so we can go through. They'll be segmented into parts, and I'm working on organizing it all into, here's the playlist for each episode, plus website and stuff. I got to get caught up on the art, and then I'll get that done. This project is huge to get this off my plate. Okay, so here's the plan for today. It's ambitious as usual, and I'm just going to embrace it. Like, I know I have to hit something that I can do quickly, but the truth is, no matter, my brain is incapable of doing it. If I have some simple idea, then something comes up in the middle of it. I want to do something, different or epic, and I think I'm learning a lot about my style and what I want to do, and I just don't think putting out something quickly or to not to what I want is going to make sense. However, I'm very proud of what we did so far, and I don't think I cut any corners. So we're going to try to keep that up. Okay, so today's episode is called the AI City, and we're going to set up our workspace for this one. And we're going to go, I've been wondering about running stuff off of my external hard drive. Did I get the name right? Yeah, the AI City. A9, the AI City. Okay. So while I set this up, the idea here is a couple things. I have a vision. Okay, there's three boxes. I guess this is checked. I used to have an ex-girlfriend that used to call it opportunity stacking, which is funny, but I used to make fun of it at the time. But it was very smart because the idea being that if something lines up where I say three things at once, you can check those off the list. You say yes, right? So it's sort of a interesting philosophy. But in my case, there's three things that I would say I really wanted to do, and this checks it off, and this is the right time for me to do it. So the first is that I have been experimenting with a ton of AI tools. I have ChatGPT running. I've been working on a ChatGPT bot. I've been testing, experimenting with that. I have obviously like OpenAI running with DALL-E. I have Discord running with what do we call that one? Oh my god, Midjourney. I've used Stable Diffusion. I used to have it installed fully locally on my PC, but when I restarted everything, it's gone. So I may end up doing that tonight and then working on it tomorrow. Tons of AI tools. And I love what AI can do, but I've said this from the beginning, just putting a prompt in and creating something and calling it art and saying like, this is my work, buy it. It's not going to win in my mind. Yes, there might be some people who are infinitely, people will use it in different ways. I'm not knocking it, but I do think the people that will really push it are people that either A, use it as tools, to complement their work, or get really good at kind of developing their own unique style from those AI tools. I think the idea of just putting a prompt in and selling it is, To me, it's just not going to fly. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I feel. So I've never really used AI in almost anything I've done until this project, where I used AI to generate a bunch of symbols for the Soul Vault. Now, I've used AI for everything else. I've used it for brainstorming ideas, mock-ups, like a ton of cool stuff, but I haven't really integrated it in a project. So that's the first one. I want to consolidate a bunch of different AI tools and techniques that I've been looking at, I've been experimenting with, into a workflow that will, in particular, help me with something that I know is probably not going to be something that I'm going to do myself, which would be like modeling a city, right? Like, if we're going to make New York City, I'm not going to model every building. No one's going to do that. So we have data available out there on the internet, and that's what my work is based on. And just like modeling a mountain, for a landscape, like, we're not going to make every crevice and every part. You want to try to bring in that data and model from there, or stylize from there. So I want to, so first thing is the AI. Second one is the story that I'm telling. I want to tell a little bit like around, I guess it's mimicked a little bit after my own life, maybe just some, I don't know, there's some interesting parallels, but just this like a kind of idea of a condo in a big city, someone who's sort of experimenting and working on some of these things. And there's a particular city that I have in my head that is part of a story that I've been working on, which we won't get too far into, but it's a specific scene in a set. And I have a visual in my head of exactly what it looks like the exact view, the angle, how it kind of lays out. But I'm not equipped yet to really fully like conceptualize the entire thing from scratch. So I really want to start to do that. And I think these AI tools can help me in some way, and I have a couple ideas of which path to go. And then the third one is like, I need this backdrop for some other work that I want to do further on in the series. So it all kind of fits together, and I want to kind of attempt a couple different techniques. And I'm hoping that tonight we can kind of decide exactly. That is a very deceiving photo. Is that just me, or am I crazy? Does that like, okay, never mind. I was like, Jesus, what's going on here? Okay. So best views of Brooklyn, of Manhattan from NYC. Okay. Let me describe to you what I want to do. And I might even like attempt to draw this a little bit. I'm really bad at this. This is something I want to work on. I'm not going to get out like an iPad and draw it out, although that would be kind of cool if I could live stream that. Maybe that's a future thing. But let me just give you a rough idea of what I'm going to do, because this is going to be kind of funny. I'm going to document this, and then, we're going to laugh later on because we're going to be like, this is crazy. Let's see how close we can get. Okay, so we're in Blender. All right. So let me just block out in the simplest way what it is that I'm picturing. Okay. So let's say here, okay, I'm going to say like a row of condo buildings. Okay. So there's better ways to do this, but just to kind of get the idea, I should get down that I had a plugin called Drop, which I really screwed this up. Here, let's do this. Stupid Matt. Here is how you make something. You do cube, and then you, oh my God. There we go. Okay. And then bring this over. So let's bring this over here. And what we can do is we'll just grab the top. This just keeps everything. We'll change things. So condo building number 1, duplicate Y. Condo building number 2, duplicate Y. condo building number 3. Okay, so on this is what I'm looking for. I'm kind of on this side of the road is a city block, and we can add we'll add a curve. We'll add a curve. Oh my God. I'm sorry. My brain is gone. Why can't I add the curve? Am I losing my mind? Oh my God. Okay, so I'm in edit mode. Oh, okay, guys. Okay, well, so we'll just add a Bezier curve. Z, rotate, Y, X, like this. And then just kind of to keep it pretty simple, the road would kind of be, something like this. Okay. Cool. And then we'll bring this down just to symbolize what it is. And then looking out the window, what I was picturing is kind of like a city, like if you think of like in Dubai, what's the big building there? I never know the name of it. The tall building in Dubai. Like I'm thinking that building, whatever that is kind of like the main building of the center. So whatever you would have, and then, maybe around it, there would be almost like a major media center, like a block, something that's sort of like where everyone would gather. We can kind of figure it out as we go. Maybe something like this. Right? Like some type of a building center across the street. Now, I pictured a train that kind of goes like subdivide. This is so weird. I mean, I don't know if anyone else's brain works like this, but like I've had this image in my head for probably 2.5, 3 years. And I really want to just kind of make it a reality now, and we're going to see how far we can go. So this is it, right? So basically this is what I've kind of pictured, right? Over here, we can just duplicate this to kind of get it, the perspective right. Probably like, maybe something like that. Okay. Okay. And then we'll do one more. Let's see if I can get this right. 2. Hopefully I didn't totally mess that up. Okay. Just for argument's sake, picture what I have, right? So this is the scene that I've been kind of picturing in my head for a while. And the basic idea is that what happens when you don't set your what did I do? Okay, there we go. Actually good. Okay, so basically this is the scene that I've been thinking about, and essentially the view that I want is, where's our little camera? Something like this. So let's take a peek on the left-hand side, and then we're going to move this camera to kind of this, let's say corner, just to kind of make it cool. And then we can set our camera to probably ultra wide, like a 16 millimeter. And we can bring it down to say you know, not the top floor, but say like this floor here. Okay. And then just because we don't want this to be clipping for now, we're just going to bring it out to the corner so that you can't see. We'll fix that in a second. Okay. And then, you know, you can go here and, you know, we're going to have to figure out the camera settings to get this right. We can go like 14 mil. Rotate that. Probably like this. Okay. Let's just go with this for now. Okay, so basically the idea is that this is sort of the view. There's a main street going down here, which represented by this line, which will turn into a road. A sidewalk, you know, a bunch of kind of shops here, like residential, like this is the main street. And think like the scene from a movie, right? This is kind of what I'm building. I know it sounds crazy, but I kind of wrote like a little movie script, or started to write a little movie script a couple of years ago. And all this ties into like a bigger vision that I have, which is hard to communicate with people because they think I'm crazy, but we'll get there slowly through all of these art things that I do. Okay. So like if you think of like a movie set, this is the condo where the protagonist would live. All of these condos down here are just sort of set condos, but there would be, you know, retail all the way down this street. So this is like the main street that the character would go on. Across the street is the transit line. So there would be like, probably my guess would be like a building like this might be kind of the transit hub where you could walk in and get on the train, and, you know, we could design this however we want. This is some type of like a town square. Like I'm picturing like, you know, like soccer field, sporting stuff, like just something that's sort of, you know, a common gathering place. And then this would be the major cluster of buildings here, including like, you know, let's say the tallest building in the city, and just some other like tall buildings. Consider this like, you know, the central part of this particular area. Okay. This is basically the layout that I've had in my head for a while. So we've got it saved now. So let's go ahead and save it. And the AI city is just reference to the tools that we're going to use. It's not, I don't know if it'll be the name or not, but that's not the name of the actual, you know, city that we're doing. We'll come up with a name at some point. Okay. Bear with me. 09, the AI city. All right. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to base this location on a real world location. Now, ideally, this is New York City. And the reason why it's New York City is because it's recognizable. People know New York in the skyline. I have some assets that I have paid for that are based on like different versions of New York City, like kind of like futuristic versions, original old versions. So there's some cool stuff there that we can use. I know New York. I've been to New York. There's, you know, a lot of, I have like a lot of personal connection in New York. And it just feels right. So what I want to do is, number one, I want to find and you know what? We're going to start doing this because I did this before, and I've been using Notion, but I actually really like doing this directly in Blender. So I'm going to start doing it now. Okay, so 09, the AI city. And we just make like a little to-do list to ourselves. And then we can save this as working. I usually just put it right in the main directory. Something like that. I don't know. Project data. I usually have a better name. Okay, so make block out of imagined city, find matching real world location. Okay, and then we're going to do a couple experiments. So we're going to experiment with image to image. So image to image basically is like AI painting. And from what I know, and I have a plugin for Blender that should run this called Dream, which is down here, which we'll try it out. It can accept like a block out and it can use it to create an AI scene. I don't know how good it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to work, but I want to try that out because the idea being that when I create something in, Midjourney or in OpenAI, it's hard to really get perspective, right? Like it's kind of does its own thing. So if I say I want a view from a 22nd floor skyscraper, with a train station, a city, buildings, if I kind of do that, it is likely to not get the right exact perspective. And even if it does it, I still have to then go in and actually create the perspective in Blender to match it if I want to use it as an asset. So you'll get this in a second. And then, so this potentially could do that. And I don't know where the tech is at, but I'm very curious. Like if I block something out that I really like, like this view that we have right here, which, we'll adjust the scale and stuff because it's probably off. And I kind of block out the key features and then tell Stable Diffusion, which we're using, what to make. If it could make, like, if it could understand that this line should be a railroad track, this should be a train station, this should be a road, these should be buildings, this should be a building, this should be like a, some type of a courtyard or sporting stadium or something. If it could take that and then apply its magic of, visualizing in AI, it would be incredible because the result that I'm thinking is then I can go into here, into this building, and I can model out, like, say, a balcony or a lookout, and in the background, blurred, can be the city. So even though it's like not going to have probably the detail I want, it's not 3D, it's not interactive, I can use it as a backdrop. If it's also at perspective, I can start to block out aspects of it. So I can say, okay, I really like this. Let's now model that building and make it actually 3D, and let's do it in a way that is correct based on the perspective of the image, which is a huge asset because then we could have an actual 3D scene that we could walk around in something like Unreal Engine. So by the end of the project, maybe this is going to be a multi-part, and we're going to end up putting different components up in terms of the NFT art. If this goes well, this little blockout that you guys are seeing right now should turn into a place that you can walk around in Unreal. I think that's a good goal by the end of the 30 days, right? It's a good goal for one project for 30 days, but I think we'll end up using multiple components of this. I have ideas for like a cool lookout with the Soul Vault on the ledge, maybe with a little animation. I have another idea for an advertisement, putting like a video here of like a 3D advertisement of the product. I have another idea to kind of do a cool holographic projection as if it's like projecting from the ground or something kind of a little bit different. And there's probably other ideas that I have once we create this scene. So if we take the time to create this city scene, I think we can kind of start to put together a bit of a story here. Okay. And then the other thing about this is I imagine, and this is why I really like New York for this idea, is that if you imagine this being like Brooklyn, you can have New York City in the background, which would be recognizable. So it kind of ties it to a real world location versus Tokyo or somewhere else. Like others might, but I can everyone I think recognizes the Manhattan skyline. So there we go. Okay. So this is the beginning. Then we want to also, we're going to, this is not the right order. Locate a real world location, Google Earth. Okay. We are going to find an iconic viewpoint from location. That's like Airbnb, Instagram, etc. So what I'm saying is like, let's find a location that looks similar to this, meaning it could have a train going through it, a road, and some buildings, because, you know, you can say 100 years from now, there may be different buildings, different style, but it's like technically feels possible. And preferably one, and we're going to go to Brooklyn that has Manhattan in the background. So we can basically steal that data and line everything up. So we got Manhattan back here, the buildings, the whole thing. Okay, so if we can find that, we can go look for some images from that location, go on Airbnb, go on other places, say like, can we find like a viewpoint from up here that we can kind of use as our main reference, which I think would be really cool, because we can maybe go visit there down the road. Okay, so now once we do that, we want to experiment. So I want to experiment with Midjourney and reference images depth maps. So what I want to try to do is, so there's a couple ways we can do this. Is one, we can generate an AI image and then bring that into Blender and use something called Blender. What is the name of it? PSY, I think it's called. I've used this one before. Plugins. We'll just get install this because we're probably going to use this. Starts with a P. No. FSpy. Why P? Okay, FSpy. So what FSpy does is FSpy lets you take an image, bring it into Blender, you know, line up the lines on the image, and then create the perspective in Blender. So when you're modeling, everything lines up. Now I've tried this with AI. It doesn't work that well because AI doesn't necessarily follow the standards. Like standard camera settings, right? So if I take a picture with my iPhone or my oh, okay, interesting. So I'm gonna have to redo this. So that's gonna take a while. So we'll do things in probably a different order. It doesn't respect it. So it won't necessarily follow perspective. So it's not easy to take an AI image and actually create proper perspective in Blender using FSpy. So if we can give it a depth map or some reference and it can match that, we may be able to get a little further. And ultimately then the goal, and also, you know, we have access to Blender OSM data. So what we want to do is once we find that location, we want to import both OSM and Google 3D tiles for location. And we want to experiment with AI image and FSpy. And we want to experiment with HDRI 360 creation in a tool that I just paid for because it looks so cool. And we're going to use it for another part. What is that one called? That is called Skybox. So Skybox creates 360 AI, which is very unique. And I want to do, I want to experiment with that. So like, you know, the idea here could be that we could do, again, root in a real world location, get reference images from that location, try to generate all the 3D, you know, blocks from that particular spot using real world data, bring that stuff into AI, see what AI can do in terms of interpreting it into like a futuristic sci-fi city, right? The cool thing would be if we can say, hey, like, here's the location. Let's imagine this in like 100 years and see what we can come up with. What kind of a cool futuristic city, because the whole story that I'm telling is going to take place in the future. I don't know how many years. In the script thing I wrote, I think it was 2054. It's not too far away, but it's like near future, I guess is the way you would describe it. And then, from there, we can really get fun with the background creation, because again, at the beginning, it just can be low quality. And then we can do is focus on, which I can do, fairly quickly, focus on this little condo apartment that we're going to model. And in particular, we're going to start with just modeling the exterior, like a balcony. So that, would be pretty straightforward for us to set up. We can light it, put some textures in, make like a railing, kind of, make it the way we want it. And then it's overlooking the city, which will slowly build up with higher and higher quality till eventually we can walk around in it in Unreal Engine. Easy enough? Okay, quick 5 minutes for me to grab a snack and use the washroom, and we'll be back and we'll start going with some of the AI tools. Okay, we're back. So we're in Pure Ref, which, if you don't know, is a really simple tool for getting concept art, reference photos, just kind of anything you want. So I just took a couple screenshots of our city, and again, just something that we can have for reference as we go forward as we build this. Okay, let's start. So the first thing I want to do is go to Google Earth and Google Maps, and I want to try our best to locate a location, because if we do that, we'll have tons of opportunity for reference images. We can do Google Street Maps. Like, we can really nail this. I think this is a really good, if like we were shooting a movie, we would, unless we were recreating a set, we'd be scouting a location. Now, I was looking before, and I'll just kind of tell you some spots that I was thinking. So I've stayed in Brooklyn here, and there's a couple, I'm trying to remember. Barclays, Apple, somewhere around here. There's that crazy building in Brooklyn. I'm going to let her type this in. I guarantee it'll be it. Sauron vibes. Yeah, this is the one. The Sauron building. So there's this crazy building in Brooklyn. And yeah, exactly. And it is wild. It is wild. What is it? Brooklyn Tower. So I'd like, if possible, the Brooklyn Tower would be that main building. Now, we may have to cheat a little bit, but I feel like it's a good representation. So this is it. Well, this is the concept art, but still very cool. So we'll put this over here. So let's go into Google Earth. Okay, so it's here. And I stayed. Let's see if I can get my perspective here. I feel like I stayed here. No. It was close, but not. There it is. Okay. So let's put that on the map, because I do know this location. This is an Airbnb that I stayed at. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a new project, and we're going to call this, because we're going to be able to grab data from this. Okay, let's call it the AI City. This is bringing together a lot of things that I've kind of done in the past. I've just never pulled it all together into something. Okay, so first point of interest is this location right here. So I think we can add it. Save to Google Drive. Sure. Okay. And then there's the building. So it is kind of close-ish to where that building would be. Just kind of for perspective, based on our Google image. Like if you take a look at what we did in Blender, this is what we imagine, right? Train going here, road, and then big building. So just to kind of tie this back to here, if we were to look at this, we would say something like this building would make a little bit of sense, right? So we have not this building, like say this building, because obviously we have a busy street. We have the big building with like kind of a center, something here that we don't know what that is or going to be, but there is no transit. So this is definitely like a candidate. And if we look behind, yeah, okay, so it's pretty good. So this is where we kind of have to use our imagination to decide. So if we were to use, say, that building there, or anything along this road, like that, Google doesn't let you go behind buildings, so you kind of have to use your imagination. So there you go. So now where's Flatiron? Okay, so if we did this way, and I think we can even save perspectives. At least I thought we used to be able to. Maybe that's in the actual. No, I'm pretty sure I've been able to do that. How did I do that before? How did I save a perspective? Huh. Okay, lots of cool. This is a new Google Earth, I guess, so. Just clicking around. I know there's a way to save this spot. What I'm going to do is, just to be safe, I'm just going to grab some URLs, just on my private note. But I think that this building here. So how does this work? Click on a map to drop a place mark. Okay, there we go. So this is option number 1. And then we'll just say, so you can put media, cool, labels, placement, capture this view. So we can go down here. And you'll see when I bring this into Blender, it's wild because you really don't have a lot of control here in terms of bringing in your location and your views. So you kind of have a bit of a, there's a lot of new stuff in here I'm not really 100% sure on, so super cool. Okay, so that's option 1. So the good news is this one has a nice skyline with Manhattan. It's One World Observatory, although you don't get the Empire State Building. But I think I would say now that's probably more iconic. Empire State Building is definitely a cool view. But I'd say that's a really good candidate because this is the obvious, where that building is. Now, if we flip to this side and we imagine, okay, here's the building here, condo building is going down this view. Well, we don't. We get nothing behind, so that doesn't work. So really the only perspective that I think we're going to get with that building, unless we change the scene, is really, because this is a cool view here. But I still think overall we're going to be happier with this part of Manhattan than we are with this part. Although I might regret that. That view is very cool. Straight down, there's just nothing on the other side of it. Okay, so let's go with option 1. Is that. Now, the downside is that if we grab this location and we drop it in to Google Maps, well, we know where we are anyway. Brooklyn Tower. So there's the tower. So if we go to 3D, similar controls it. There it is. So this is the same spot, and kind of dealing with the same basic thing, right? Now, from a transit standpoint, this is where it's kind of interesting. So if we look at where we are, there is some transit here. The red line is okay. So this is a subway route. So this is very cool because the B line runs under there. So even though it's underneath, it's still like we could imagine a world where that B line got brought up. So we could follow the exact B line down Flatbush, and essentially we would have, we could make anything we want. Maybe we could make it some ideas. We could still be underground, but there's an above ground version. There's all sorts of cool stuff we can do. So I think this is a huge, so far I'm almost, wondering if Google's wildly confusing with its controls. Okay. So there it is. There's our transit line. It is come from a little different side, but it's still pretty good. And then this one is, so this is the 3 line going this way. This is the 5. And then we have Broadway Local and the B line. So this is a wicked spot. Wicked spot. It's almost impossible to say we're going to find anything better. But let's go search around. So this is option 1, and it's a pretty strong one. Okay, so the other spot that I was kind of thinking was I was looking at some stuff on the map. Let's go here. I was looking at some stuff on the map more in Dumbo. So from here, there's obviously lots of transit lines. I think there's an elevated, this is the Brooklyn Bridge. I feel like one of these ones is the Manhattan Bridge is a driving bridge. Subways go underneath here, here, here. Where is there? There's a bridge. I think it might be here. Williamsburg is okay driving. Is the Manhattan Bridge car traffic? That's the Brooklyn Bridge or Manhattan Bridge. Subway only bridge. Man, am I imagining this? Okay, so the Manhattan Bridge is the main subway connector. 4 tracks. Okay, I think this is the one. Manhattan Bridge car traffic. I don't think... Okay, so there is cars. So they have the tracks. Okay, so tracks and cars. All right, cool. So this location here, we've obviously got the Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge. I don't know. So I'm going to look here. I was looking at something like maybe in here. Something in this area where there would be a park. Let's just go to our satellite view and see. I don't remember there being much in terms of buildings here. Okay, so if we come along here, there is, this is a road. There was a bridge that I went across. Oh, I think it was up here. I think it was one of these ones. Maybe no. That has the train line in the middle. There's a spot where like the bridge comes up and I'm trying to picture it. I remember taking the train across in Brooklyn. And there was like, it was here. I'd have to look this up. No, because I went. I think it might have been over here. So it was staying. Yeah, it might have been this. Might have been like one of these lines. Like here, maybe. Yeah, I think it was this. I think I came out and I got off here. So yeah, this is. So let me just do it. Let's do a check over here. 'Cause I don't think this is gonna work, but I think it's probably worth. It's worth, I think, just having a peek to see if anything makes sense. So, what do we got? Um, so, okay, what do we got? So here we've got obviously the Empire State Building. We won't see this. We got the massive train system over here. Queensboro Plaza. We've got a few tall buildings here. And you know, we could kind of do like this line. Oh, this is kind of cool. So we would have like, you know, see the view from this apartment. There's the train line. You could imagine the building here and then the skyline in between. So let's say that this is option 2. Something like this. And we'll say probably this building. So let's grab the lat long. Oh. Yeah, so kind of like this plaza here would be that where I kind of drew that line. There's the road. There's the condo here. There's the road. Tall buildings would be somewhere in here. So I think this is a pretty good candidate too. And we say probably this building would be a good candidate as any. Okay, so what do we need? We need the lat long, which I don't know how. Okay, there, we can just grab it that way, hopefully. So way over here in Queens. This is Queens, right? So it's funny that Google has 2 products that are basically the same, and the actual controls are like, this one is middle mouse button to rotate, and Google Maps is control and left click. So if you're wondering why I seem like I'm struggling, it's because they're different. So I would say this is our kind of our setup like this. Something, you know, kind of trying to get the Empire State Building is there, right? They're so low res. I'm pretty sure that's it there. Just wait till you see this in Google Maps. It's gonna be really interesting. Okay, so let's just save this location. We'll say this is option number 2. Save the view. Save. Okay, so this should work where you hit fly to. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so there's, and it should bring us right down to the view. That's what that view thing does. So we can fly over to this one, and there it gets the kind of view. Okay, I think those two are really good candidates. Let me look at a map and see. So that looks like that. All right, so let's go best views of Manhattan from Brooklyn. And like Flatbush is the main part of Brooklyn, so that fits really nicely. Okay, we don't Brooklyn Bridge Park. No. What we want is best buildings in Brooklyn with views of Manhattan. Oh, that's nice. But we don't want to do this. 10 mil. If we want to grab it. 3 mil. 1.9. That's pretty sick. 1,400 square foot. No. This is interesting. Let's go to this one. So where that view was, that looks like that would be it. So that's also a pretty cool view. So you get the road, the building going here, the bridge crossover, bunch of stuff here. God, I love New York City. The Brooklyn Bridge in the background. You know, it doesn't quite fit because it's kind of at the wrong angle. Like if we imagined this is the plaza on the other side of the road, it's slightly different, but it's definitely cool. This view right here is pretty magic. If I can go, yeah, this view is pretty magic. So let's just do this one. I got to remember to do this in Google Earth. Okay. New controls. So here, you know, what's neat about this one is we have multiple transit. So we've got, you know, this road going through the Brooklyn Bridge, which is just foot traffic, right? No. Both? Why did I think the Brooklyn Bridge was just foot traffic? That's crazy. That would make no sense. Yeah, it's the road on both sides, foot traffic in the middle. Yeah, so you kind of imagine this being the street. This has got cool vibes because it's got like a little bit of everything. It's got the road going under, 2 roads, Brooklyn Bridge. If you come up, it's got that elevated view, although we have like really no control of Google Earth. Just wait till we get this into Blender. It's going to be blow people's minds. Okay, I like this. So even though I cannot get this view, I can't go up. Let's just go with this. saved a project. Option number 3. Save the view. Okay. And then, I don't know, let's see if can we get a transit layer here? Yeah, so I want the transit lines. I don't care about this. I don't care about anything else, actually. So I don't know if there's a transit line here. Let's just double check on this view. Layers, because there's an actual transit. So was that our spot? So there's no actual transit, which is too bad. So where do you go? I guess you take this. Or is it not on the transit view? So the closest transit is AC High Street. Okay. It's an option. Oh, these places are crazy. These places are nuts. That's insane view right there. Okay. Best Airbnb views in NYC. We're just trying to get, we're just trying to get something that feels like we have lots of options, and it fits the. These are like the worst. This might be the worst website I've ever seen. Let's just go down to Brooklyn. I mean, like they don't show the view first. That's insane. It's $800 a night. Sounds crazy. That's a sick. Definitely decorated like an Airbnb. I like this. I really like this rooftop, and I really like this this billboard right here in the background. So let's go take a peek at where this thing is. Kind of a cool setup. Where's like the map? Like you can see close to where it is. Where is that? Where you'll sleep? No. Travel date? No. Okay, here it is. Okay, so it's between 5th, 3rd, and 4th. Prospect, just north of that. So what is that? Prospect Heights. So south. I don't know why I'm having trouble. Is that 4th Avenue? That's 4th. Third, 4th. Fourth Avenue at Union. 4th and Union. Okay, so let's hear. So more of residential has a view of that. So what its view is probably, I'm sure we could find this thing at some point if we wanted it, but it's somewhere in here. It's cool, but just too residential. Okay, no deal. Okay, so I think I think we should make a choice. I think for the purposes of this, I'm gonna say let's go check out. It's either, to me, it's either this one or this one. I like the transit here. There is no building. I mean, this is the cleanest one. This is the cleanest one. I know the area. Flatbush is wildly popular. This building is there, which I'm sure we can find like a 3D model of. We're going to have in the background the World Trade Center, One World. We don't have transit, but we have underground transit. Okay, I think we should do this. I think this is close to what I would imagine, and I have like a good personal connection to it. I stayed there when I was in New York City, and this is about as close as you're going to get. Okay, so we're officially going to go with option 1. So let's grab a screenshot of this. And bring this in. And then we get, to work with this building too. Okay. Let's capture this view. Okay, so a couple things we want to do now. Some of these we might have to do overnight because we're going to download a bunch of data. Let's go through and see what we got. So we got our block out, real world location, locate the real world in Google. Yeah, we did that. Did that. We did that. Well, we'll look at. Okay, so let's do this quickly. So this view is going to be from one of these buildings. I'm going to say like this maybe. So let's go look at these buildings. Oh man, the change in controls between these two that look exactly the same is wildly painful. Okay, so and there's construction going on here. Lots of stuff happening at this spot. So I'm going to say like this is our building. It's either this building here or this building here. This is one Flatbush. Okay, perfect. Perfect. That's actually, so that's what we're going to do. One Flatbush. So we can imagine, this building being whatever we want in the future. But this one Flatbush gives us the intersection, right? So we have, okay. Oh man, so painful. Okay, the view from here is essentially what we wanted, right? It's got, man, that's so frustrating. Can't wait to get this into. So we're over top of the building here. Okay. This is our view. It's basically this. Boom, one world, other stuff over here, town center, big, tall, crazy building, other buildings in here. We have a construction site over there, which we can turn into whatever we want. And we got transit lines running through that we're going to turn into our own interpretation of what we want them to be. So let's go with one flat brush. And let's see views from one brush, Brooklyn. Now they're not going to be great because it's a low building. But it's a real place. We have floor plans. $455 square foot. We have a virtual tour. This is all like super useful stuff. Hey, look, there we go. You can rent a place. Say no. Oh, no bedrooms because it's a studio. $3,500 a month. Let's see. What do we get? We don't need this. We walk in. We have our kitchen. We have our bathroom. We have, what is this? Closet. Which is the view of inside. Welcome to New York City. Welcome to New York City. And then we walk in. Look at that. It's amazing, eh? You don't get much for $3,500, but you're in New York and you're in. But just imagine a world. Is this the actual view from the top, or is this some bar? Imagine the world where the newest skyscraper in downtown Brooklyn happens to be at One Flatbush. A huge skyrise right here. Looking out, overlooking. I cannot figure out how to turn this. This crazy building, nice view down, Flatbush Avenue. We even got the bridge. What bridge is that? The Brooklyn Bridge. No. Oh, that's Manhattan Bridge. Okay, that's cool. So we have that view down there. So if our condo that we're going to have is probably going to be about here. And we're going to have an awesome view right there of the Manhattan Bridge. And we can be as high. Oh, great. You know, we can be as high as we want here when we do this. So we might even have a view sneaking through to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is there. So maybe we have a little sneaky view of the Brooklyn Bridge. And we definitely can see the One World Trade Center. And if we have our nice wraparound balcony on the side, we probably can see the Empire State Building. I mean, this might be the best place in Brooklyn to live when we design it. Like to this corner, especially if we are up high and we have like corner view of this. Okay, I'm done with Google Maps. We need to get this into Google Earth or into Blender. so we can roll with it. Okay. Watch how this works. This should be cool. So let's go back to Blender and let's start with the actual data for this location, and then we're gonna save this one. So we'll bring our camera out, and I've been doing this lately. It's super nerdy, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's really kind of a nice way to organize. Lights, camera, and you guessed it, action. Camera goes in here. Lights will have our lights for action. Put the light here, and we'll just drag all this stuff into its own folder, and we'll call it blockout. Okay, cool. So lights, camera, action, and we'll put the blockout in here. All right, so let's go see what we can get from Blender OpenStreetMaps. So now we're going into another tool. So this is OpenStreetMaps, which is kind of like Google Earth, except open source, which is cool. And there's a lot, I find there to be a lot of really good information on this map. This is not the actual OpenStreetMap. I can show you that OSM map. This is OpenStreetMap here. This is just a selector, so we'll put in the same location. So this is, let's just get my orientation. One. What is it here? So this is cool. This is our spot right there, one Flatbush. So you can see the building numbers are kind of laid out. There's some basic information there, like different stores. But then, perfect, right? There's the main train stations all coming through that spot. And then going across the street. Some coming through here. I don't know what would be considered technically like core downtown Brooklyn. Would probably be like where the Barclays Center would be. But we're in the, where's the Barclays Center? Okay. So this is cool. So there's one Flatbush. This is where I stayed. So right around the corner. And I had a very cool view going this way. So really, we'll get that same view. It's just there was this nice street that led right to the Empire State Building. So that was a very cool spot. There's a tiny part of me. No, it doesn't have the vibe that I want. I was thinking I should consider doing it from there because I have the actual like photos and building data, but maybe that's a backup. And then the Barclays Center is just here. So basically this whole section of Brooklyn, there's Apple, there's the Whole Foods. I mean, this is the street. And then I like how this turns this way at Fulton, and then we've got, this is the plaza. This feels like, as central as you can get. Okay. So that's OpenStreetMaps. So if we see anything on here, this is the tool for Blender. So what we want to do is we want to pick an area that we care about. And what I typically do here is I'm going to try to block out basically the same view that we created in Blender. So this was our original imagination. We're going to obviously adjust it a little bit. But, you know, our condo building's back here. So we really don't want anything behind it. So we'll just sort of get this building in it. And then if we look at our kilometers, we can kind of decide what we want. We know that that building is, I think, here. That's the Brooklyn Tower, so we need at least that. So we probably want to get this block. So that's a half a kilometer by half a kilometer. Was that 2 square kilometers? 0.5. 2? No, that would be 1. So, okay, I think this is okay to start. We'll start with this, and then we'll sort of expand it. Actually, let's get this block. Let's go with 1. I was gonna say we can go with 1 by 1. I don't know if that's gonna be too much, but there's 1 by 1. Keep losing our building. Okay, it's already there. All right, let's go with this. See what we get. So we copy the coordinates. We go back, we paste it. And I usually start by getting the terrain and hit import, and it's going to get a height map. There's going to be nothing, okay? But it establishes a ground plane. So you can see there's really nothing here of excitement. It's, you know, pretty flat where we are. So it's not really going to matter. I'll put 10 kilometer limit. But it gives us something to kind of start with. And then when we go back here, we can now ask for the OpenStreetMap data. And we can put it on here. Let me do one quick thing. So let me grab. I'm just going to go assets, plugins. Okay, it's under assets. So I think I just have to set a folder. I think it is in assets, plugins, Blender. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I don't think that matters. I don't think we want trees. Let's try it. No. Single object. Let's do separate. We're gonna try a couple options. I've done this before, and I'm never really sure which settings I want. So let's try this. And what it should do is it should get that data, and it should put it right on that terrain at the same scale. So that terrain's 1K by 1K. So with any luck, we'll have, there it is. There's our buildings. And now we have the start of something much, much, much better. So a couple things we can do. Let's go change this to 1 meter for now. So we have our building right here. And now we have a little bit better, you know, we can kind of like play around with the view a little bit more. And we can actually change the focal length on the default view on Blender. It gets a little confusing, but maybe we should go to 35 just so we can kind of see. But now my view is like this. And this is really, really close to what I was picturing. Like I was kind of picturing, you know, maybe from this building, which is an alternative option. So we go to this one or this one. What was that building? 395 Probably 395 Fulton. Yeah. No. What is it? Like, it's like you can just imagine these buildings are going to get. So I'm not sure. I like just like the number. One Flatbush is pretty iconic, but from an actual perspective standpoint, if you're kind of looking at this, if you are here in this corner, you have, well, it's slightly different, but it's still pretty good. You get that corner view. Actually, this is pretty sweet. So this would be kind of our view right about here. And you would have the building, you would have this view, you would have kind of the Brooklyn Bridge down here. So it'd be something like this. So what we can do is now we'll grab a camera, we'll duplicate, we'll switch the view, and then this never works. Line view. Never figure that out. Oh, it's there. Oh, maybe it was just this. 10,000. Point. 4.5. So this is at 14 mil. So there's at 16 mil. And if we change this to camera to view, we can actually move the camera around. We usually could. Don't know why. Maybe it's just, because the scale's crazy. So there's our building, right? So you can imagine if we kind of put our camera, this is helpful to kind of bring it a little bit bigger size. So if you kind of go over top and you imagine you had the corner apartment, right? So you had the corner apartment here, look around, you can decide what height that building, the future building will be. But let's say, pretty safely it could be something like that. And then there's our view. And I think if we went, change it 13, this is kind of what we've been doing. This is a pretty cool shot right here. And 24 mil, 16, feels pretty good. Okay, so there you go. So that's probably our shot, or at least a proposed shot. So now, if we go back to our block out, it's going to be really tiny. But what we can do is we'll make everything a child of the plane, and then we can bring this thing up to scale just so we can kind of compare what we had. So I was kind of picturing it like this, the road this way. And now if I change this to, if I change it to, if I change it to material, and I go to all these ones, I think I can do this. Viewport display. We'll just make this pink. that will work. That work? Yeah, it did. Okay, cool. So I think object, perfect, and then take this one, and we'll just make it, there we go. So just to kind of compare it, this is what we were imagining with something like this. And the main thing I would say is that this road is pretty close, right? It's pretty close. So I was kind of picturing it like this, and, you know, depending on which way you kind of turn the road, there's the tall building, there's the center. I mean, it's about as close as you're going to get. So there we go. That's pretty good. All right, so we have real data, and we have, now all these are individual, which I don't know if it's going to be a mistake or not, but just while we're here, and this is a really nice thing about working with GIS data, is if we go in here and do single object and just re-import it, we're going to get the same data exactly, just all together. So we go in here, and just to rename this, we can say this is one flat bush separated, and then this one is one flat bush, I don't know what I'm doing, joined, and then we can just drag this into action and then bring these two together. And we'll call this OSM buildings. Okay. So a couple more kind of interesting things that we can do, and then I got maybe 20 more minutes, and then I'm gonna take my break and call this number one. So while we're here, because we have this terrain, which is really useful, which is kind of our base for everything that we're doing. And when we import other stuff, what's really cool is we can import, like, we're going to be able to now import Manhattan, or a part of Manhattan, and it can be relative. Now, what will happen is it'll put it like way the heck over here, you know, way off in the distance, but then we can bring it closer and rescale it to make it our background. So we'll do that as well. But while we have this in, there's a couple really cool things we can do, which I want to try. So first thing, we can go in and pick image overlay. And now I put in a whole bunch of different keys for accessing different software. So we're going to kind of just see what type of data we can get. So OSM map Nick, I think, is just the regular default one. I think this will probably be good. So let's just see what we get. So it's downloading tile images right now. And it's done. And I should have showed this before, but I'll hide the terrain for a second. So if we go in here, this is just the default texture that we get with OSM. We're going to experiment with something really cool, which is there's like a procedural building pack and a bunch of stuff that I want to see if we can get in here. But it's just basically grabbed, you know, this is basically grabbed like a standard building texture, which doesn't look great, but will look, you know, okay if we have to use it as something for default. Okay, so then, and then, we switch over to cycles and we add ourselves like an HDRI. Or actually, I would say even better, we'll go into atmosphere. We'll add a physical atmosphere. And then what we're actually can do here is we can actually get the real location and stuff, which will be kind of neat. So we'll do that after. So there's, kind of a sunset setting. And we get a little bit of lighting on our buildings. Okay. Terrain texture. So now, see what we've got? We've got actual street data. So now we have Flatbush. We can see where everything is. We can do some really fun stuff with this. And actually start to, model based on this. So if we want to make sure the roads are accurate, we have that in there. And then that creates a texture directly on terrain. So if we take a peek, I think it's overlay. I think that's where it's going. Overlay. So just to make this a little bit easier, this is Blender. Sorry, this is OSM. Basically, it's a street map. Let's see what else is in here. So what I want to do is I want to kind of have them all so I can cycle through them. So this is Mapnik. I don't know what that actually is, but I guess it's this. So now let's try ArcGIS. So this is satellite imagery. And, this gets crazy because I used to work in this industry and, one thing would be really fun to do is like we can get really high resolution data. And it'd be nice to figure it all out and geolocate it, but I think we're gonna have to do that later on because it gets pretty intense. But there you go. Now we have, so this is street map. This is satellite, ArcGIS. So now we have an actual satellite. Now here, the problem with satellite is they call it like off nadir angle. And basically it's the angle the satellite takes the photo of above Earth. And there's two challenges. One is this is actually pretty good. Sometimes you get some distortion in perspective, but this one looks like they got it pretty solid. But then the other problem is the sun, the sun location. So if we were to buy satellite imagery, we could actually specify like when the time of day it was taken. So obviously if you took your photo directly at noon or, directly when the sun is overhead in Brooklyn at that time, you're going to get less shadowing. But with these buildings, I mean, it almost doesn't matter. Pretty much any time you're going to get shadows. So it's cool to have, but it might be good background stuff, but generally you'd want to kind of remodel this stuff to get rid of the shadows or retexture it. But that's ArcGIS. But you can get different satellite imagery. So let's try Mapbox, which is one that I have a key for. So this is going to get the Mapbox data. See what this one looks like. And you can already tell this is going to be a much higher resolution image. Okay, let's let this go. About 15 minutes left. Okay, there it is. So now we're going to call this one satellite Mapbox. And then we're going to save this. Let's just save this now. Okay, so just to kind of compare, we have much better shadowing here. So this is taken like almost at noon. Like, look at that. That's pretty incredible. Even this building, maybe they took this before this building was put up. But that actually is really, that's really actually really amazing satellite quality. I mean, it's not the highest resolution, but that's fine. I want to try a bunch of stuff. Like I want to take this satellite imagery, for example, and go run it through like AI and see if I can get a higher quality satellite image, which would be kind of neat. So that's Mapbox, way better than, just to kind of switch it. I think we could do it. I don't know if we could do it by just bringing it up. Oh, I think we'd have to do it over here. So this is our Mapbox satellite, ArcGIS. Wait, why is it not switching? Did I just relabel those wrong? Okay, hold on. So, street map kind of confuses why it's not changing. Okay. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out, but basically, oddly. Oh, okay. So what we want to do is, I think we just want to get rid of. Okay, let me fix this. So this is the street map. Okay, so there's the street map data. I think we want to get rid of this. OSM streets. Oh wait, go streets. OSM. Okay, so I think we just want to get rid of this. And then this is the Mapbox one, which is with the really good thing. And then this one, if we sign this, now it's the ArcGIS. So we get rid of that. So now if we want to switch them, we should be able to do it here. And we want to protect those in case we save our file. So there it is, ArcGIS. There's streets. So we have all three. So I'm doing here, if you're new to Blender, is I'm basically making a fake user because Blender will remove stuff you don't use, basically. If you don't have material, it can purge it. Okay, so let's go back to our best one, which is Mapbox. And let's see what else we got. Let's get Mapbox streets. So let's see what this one looks like. So Mapbox is really cool. And what I can really like about Mapbox is that you can go in and make your own style. So you can go in and say like, hey, I want, dark images. Like I want the map to be dark with like the streets to be like a light color. I want these labels, this color. Like you can basically stylize this in whatever way we want. And then we can download it from Mapbox right through here. It's not satellite imagery, but it's kind of like, blended, whatever you want to do. So then let's take a peek at this one. So this one is streets, Mapbox, save it, and then remove it. So now this is the OSM streets, and this is the Mapbox streets. So I don't know. Pretty similar. I think the OSM looks a little better. There's a bit more data. See things a bit better with the overpasses, the lights and stuff. And OSM is pretty solid it's like community driven. So there's a lot of stuff that gets added in. There we go. We have a map in Google with this. Okay. So we have 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So there's the next thing we want to do is we can get the actual Google, 3D tiles. And this is crazy. So this is pretty new. This is going to go out and this is going to get us like actual photorealistic buildings. And in most cases, everything will be better than this. Sometimes the buildings get a little bit janky, not quite as nice, and they're hard to separate. So the idea being that like what we kind of want is probably like we want the Google buildings for probably Manhattan in the background. and we want to probably customize some of these buildings ourselves to make them look better. So we're going to have all of it though, so we'll be able to pick. It takes forever, like hours. So I think what I'm going to probably do is I might run a low res version of it while I take a quick break and grab something to eat. But I'll probably grab a high res one overnight. So what I'm going to do now, just to show a quick example, is I'm going to go grab Manhattan and see if we can bring it in relation to this. So really it's going to be like, here's our main street. And then, when we do our camera deal, we need probably some more buildings back here, but we really only need to kind of stage out this area and then we can get Brooklyn. So here's maybe a better test. Let's go back to our map. Actually, let's keep this one open. So this is our rectangle. So let's say we want this same section, but we want to just move up. So we'll get the top of the Brooklyn Bridge. And probably because of our angle, we can even move this way. So let's just try this. So copy back to Blender. And we'll start with the terrain. And then this is where I've never quite done this. So we got to see if this is going to work. It should. It might not. It might actually. No, it says relative to initial import. Okay, so I think we're all right. Did it work? No. Okay, let's try that again. Import relative. Let's just try to do the OpenStreetMap instead. I feel like this one should add it on properly. Uh-oh. Oh, because it's looking for terrain. Let's try this. I think it imported over top. I feel like it, yeah. Oh no. Oh, because I'm an idiot. I am stupid. Paste. So we changed location. We didn't do it. So let's try this now. Let's grab, yeah, there it is. So now we have a tile, right? You can see it overlap perfectly. It's going to be over here. And now we can go grab our OpenStreetMap data. And there we go. And everything lines up. And we know that we want the image overlay for OSM. And it's probably the best one. And then we can get the satellite imagery. So like this is the crazy thing about GIS data. Like it just blows my mind because it's all geolocated. Like it knows where everything is. Whereas like you're working in Blender, you're like, okay, I'll move this here, move that there. In this scenario, everything is mapped to like actual real world, like GPS coordinates. So like latitude, longitude, and it's all normalized and all like, it's just mind blowing. So, I mean, we could just sit here and we could import all of New York City. I mean, we could just go nuts and, it just takes time and, the files are big, but we can absolutely do it. So there's our Brooklyn neighborhood. We grab a tile here, whatever we need to do. And there's our lineup directly to the bridge. So let's try one more thing, and then we're going to kill the stream. Again, these big files, you just have to keep yourself organized. We'll keep this at map 7. I don't know if there's another way to do it. And then it grabbed the terrain as well. So now this is one Flatbush, and this is we'll call this Brooklyn and naming these and doing a proper tiling and stuff is really kind of gets important depending on what we're doing. But for now, we should do this like this: terrain underscore one flatbush, terrain, Manhattan, and then we'll look up the neighborhoods and stuff. And we'll call this that, and then we can get rid of this one. Put this in here. This in here. So the rest of them, we would probably want them separated. So when you have the buildings, they're all together. Versus this tile, I want them like this, so we can actually. I don't know why. I think I have a duplicate somewhere. Don't know why. We'll figure that out. Okay. So just to kind of get an idea, we go back to our map. And now let's see. So if we're looking at our view, we know that we want our view is here. And we know that One World Trade is over here. So now let's just to test the limits. Let's just grab all of Manhattan. Why not? Why not? Let's see how this goes. Okay. So this is a huge tile. But again, the data is not crazy. So let me save what I did. And let's just do it. Again, we wouldn't want to get like an image for this because it would be massive. But just getting the terrain and then getting the building data, I think is going to be doable. So let's hit terrain. So there's, now that doesn't feel like that did relative. Maybe it did. Yeah, it kind of did because we literally put the whole thing. And now if we go to our view, and now we have to change this probably like 25 kilometers. Yeah, I think it probably did it. Because if you look at the angle of the building, I mean, it's really straight up from there. So this is going to probably work out nicely. And then let's go back to OSM. And let's get the OpenStreetMap. Fingers crossed. See how long this takes. You can usually even see the what it's doing. Parsing. Okay, so it's going. Let's see if it comes up, and then this will be the end of the stream, or this stream. We'll do part one. I'm gonna do one more part tonight, so it's 9 o'clock my time. We'll do one more part tonight, and then we'll probably do a bunch of stuff overnight, and then kick it off with part 3 tomorrow. If I didn't break everything here, this should work. I mean, it's a lot of data, but it'll come in. So there's a whole bunch of stuff too, like not even on this list, but like once we get this running in Blender, we get a proper file, we export this data as like FBX files. We can bring this into Unreal Engine. And, the idea would be we get everything kind of really set up the way we want in Blender. And then in Unreal Engine, we can have a lot more freedom. And Unreal Engine has like a streaming service, which is super cool through a thing called Cesium. And what it does differently than what we're doing now, we're downloading all this data, right? So you just really, every time you could probably pick all in New York and it would, take whatever, maybe 10 gigabytes or something. It would eventually download the data. It'd probably be unusable in Blender. But in Unreal Engine, you can stream it, which is really cool because wherever you go in the city, it will auto load data, almost like a video game. So one of the ideas I had was to get, proper data brought into Blender, set it all up the way I want it, then export it. Okay, that's my file I'm going to work with. And then bring it into Unreal Engine and then drop in the streaming data. so we could actually do like a full animation and not worry about actually having to download everything in advance. So that is an idea that I want to experiment with maybe down the line. 5 more minutes. Okay, so after this, we're going to test a couple things. We're going to do this image to image. So we're going to try to see if we can feed it this blocked out building data. And I'm very curious if we bring that into Stable Diffusion, whether it will render, like if I said New York, render, realistic rendering of downtown Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Tower, and then gave it the blocks, especially if I colored them, I'm very curious. If not, that's coming. Because if you basically gave it a depth mask, which is the other thing I want to try, which is going to tell it with an image, here is the distance of each of these pixels from the camera. Yes, this is the end. So we'll give it till 2-minute timer. So depth mask is basically like everything on the image tells how far the pixel is from the camera. So say, okay, this building here is, you make it bright white means it's close, and then far in the back is black or darker grays. It kind of goes like gradient. You give that information to AI, and then you say, okay, here's the building. So they're all blocked out with the depth mask. And then you give it a style, say like realistic New York City or cyberpunk New York City or whatever. If it's not here yet, it's coming. And that's when things get really, really fun, because now you have way more creative control over your AI. And this is where it's like, hey, why are we learning these tools? We can just do AI. It's like, yeah, if you know the tools and you know AI, then you could generate something that's exactly what you want, like a set for a movie, a scene, whatever, as opposed to right now, you're basically getting flat images that you have no concept of what it's going to really create. So that's where I'd like to get to. I might have done a little bit too much. I don't know. Well, it's still going. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll kill the stream. I'm going to take about 30 minutes to grab myself something to eat, take a little dog outside, and then we'll kick off with part 2 here in, let's say, half an hour, max an hour, but I'd say half an hour. We'll be back, and then we'll hopefully this thing will have downloaded and we can start to play with some background imagery and stuff from Manhattan. Okay, thanks for joining. See you guys soon.